All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm very excited to walk you through this. We've been working on this for almost 8 months now, but I think it's going to be an incredible new feature. It's going to really kind of change how people are using Amperity today, and but also what potential use cases it can unlock in the future. So, welcome to Stop Integrating, Start Sharing. Today we'll talk a little bit about the problems that people are dealing with customer data, the difference between a sharing-based connection and actually like data integration work. And of course, we're going to walk through a demo of Amperity Bridge. You might have got a glimpse of the keynote, but we're going to go deeper into it, like fully set up a connection. And I think it'll be, hopefully a little more informative for people who've got experience with Databricks. And then we're going to invite Shiv up, and he's going to give us the Databricks point of view. It's going to be fun. And of course, we'll open it up for Q&A at that point. So, talking about customer data challenges here. So, every company, generates an alarming amount of data. I sort of talk about it like the first phase of the internet was everybody just figuring out how to use it and like getting, basic e-commerce stuff going. The second one was every company adopting it like crazy and generating just an alarming amount of data. And now we're in this third one where they're sort of staring at this massive pile of data saying, how on earth do we do anything valuable with this? And I think the problem is, how do you unify that in a performant way? If you have thousands of different places you're getting data, it doesn't make sense to build 1,000 of different jobs to manage it. It's hard to turn that into some sort of useful data asset. It's not even just as simple as writing the code to do the job. You have to like design the schema. What do you want the data set to look like? How are you going to use it? What teams are going to need it? How would you power it? I'll give you a simple example, lifetime value. People think about it as how much has a person spent? But like when marketers want to use it, they actually want to slice it by different time periods. How much have they spent over the last month? How much have they spent over the last year? How much have they spent year over year, compared to the last one? So you actually need many fields that have different cuts of that same algorithm. And then the other one is that customer data is locked up. So each of the different things that generate data, when you build an application, you build a storage layer. So they all have their own way of storing the data that is designed to power whatever that is that they do. Send an email, deliver, a website experience, et cetera. So you have to get the data out of that into somewhere, and you have to, and a lot of the tools to do that are sort of a black box. You have to shape the data, put it in, and then you only get whatever they're allowing out. So it needs to be flexible, and you need to be able to get access to all of it. And then finally, the governance is hard. Especially an enterprise company will have many teams. You have analysts. Sometimes you have contractors that aren't even allowed to see PII, but you need them to be able to write SQL. And so you need the flexibility of a unified governance layer so that you can actually control in a secure way who gets access to what, where that data is stored. And of course, every single system that connects, really importantly, and what we're going to talk about today, is securely connecting. So being able to have your Databricks account interact with your storage layer in a way that's secure and letting the Unity catalog sort of handle that governance. So today, what we launched officially is Amperity Bridge. This is a really awesome thing. Like I did a before and after recently. Before, you had to set up all these connectors and build integrations to copy data in and out of your tenant. And so there was just a job that ran. You want to put data in Databricks, then you have to run a job. And if you're copying 10 tables that are a terabyte of data, that's going to take an hour. Now, you can set this up in minutes. And I'm going to show you how to do it today in a video that I had to record because I just decided to play it safe. But the point is, it's like a real thing where I'll show you how we generate the credential, how we set it up. And this allows you to genuinely, you could make 100 tables available in Amperity in a couple of minutes. And I did the before version with the couriers where we had to create every single one. And it was genuinely like 3 hours versus 3 minutes. And I think it's going to be really important. It's going to be so flexible, and we're seeing a bunch of really great early adoption here. Basically, what Amperity Bridge does is it takes the storage layer for your Amperity tenant and makes that a direct connection to your Databricks or Snowflake infrastructure. And so the whole point here is that your data engineering teams love working in Databricks. They want to build their notebooks, build their custom models, and have that data always available. And when they want to use tools like Amperity in the past, they had to set up some sort of job and always be worried about whether the data is up to date. Well, now what we're doing here is we're creating a connection between the core storage layers so that you can just run a query at Databricks and join it to data in Amperity, and it's not like the latest version of the data from Amperity. It's literally querying the same storage layer as your actual Amperity tenant. So the cool part here is that it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Amperity is basically here to remove tedium for data engineering teams. I sort of joke that there's like 10 data models. Like, there's customer data profiles, there's like transactions, there's preferences, there's households, whatever. But that means data engineering teams are constantly writing jobs to convert this customer model to that customer model and some sort of automation between them. And like, it's just tedious. It's the same thing over and over. In this data set, it's called email. And this one, it's called email_address. Like, it's brain death. Sorry, but so it's probably a little harsh. But like, I've done it myself for the last 12 years. And basically what we've been able to do is take the most common problems and create tools that make that take minutes and kind of make it easy for you to live with. Make changing it easy without having to write migration scripts and all of that sort of thing. But also, we want you to be able to use the best-in-class tools that you want, which gives, and all of those are going to connect to your data warehouse. So Amperity handles the profiles, takes the raw data, turns it into an enriched data set, and makes that available in Databricks, and you can still build your own custom models, but now you have all of the data and it's always up to date. And Amperity provides that marketer UI that kind of makes it easy for you to just give your marketing team access. And Databricks, of course, provides all these amazing tools to build your own AI or build your own prediction models, which is just a way more interesting thing to do for data engineering teams. Like, I'd much rather build a cool new prediction model than convert email to email_address, right? So I want to talk a little bit. This is what I refer to as my inch-deep architecture slide. This is kind of a very zoomed-out version of kind of how Amperity works. We have a workflow system. We have a library of what we call couriers. We bring that data in, and we standardize and normalize it. We generate a bunch of data models on the identity graph, and then we turn that into a bunch of useful data assets. And then everything on this half is basically about providing access in some way, either putting it in the activation tools that you want, or creating a direct API connection to your data, or providing that campaign UI and the ability for marketers to access it. The thing down here that I finally get to highlight today is you just see how it says S3 in Azure. Now, here's the history here. When Amperity first started, we used a storage layer called Accumulo, which is sort of Hadoop with like a security thing that Netflix used that no one's ever heard of. But it was basically designed to handle a large scale of data, and we realized that it was just expensive, and we weren't really using the database features. And I remember having this conversation with our engineering team. They said, we're going to get rid of Accumulo. And I went, okay. And we're going to replace it with what? And we're going to use cloud storage. And I went, but that's not a database. Like, how do we do database things on it? Like, it was a reflection of how much more advanced they were than I was. And they said, well, we're just going to store them as open table format files in cloud storage. And at the time, that seemed kind of radical to me, but I was like, hey, you guys are way better at this than I am. Let's go for it. And 2 years later, the lakehouse concept emerged. And I was like, wait a minute, we just built the lakehouse. That's what we did this whole time. And so the kind of cool element here is, if you think about how Databricks works and how Amperity works, in both scenarios, you're using cloud storage, and you're storing effectively files in cloud storage. Databricks defaults to the Delta Lake concept, Delta tables, but ultimately, you are provisioning some sort of cloud storage layer, and you're connecting your Databricks to it. Amperity actually operates pretty much the same way. For Azure, we use Azure Blob. For AWS, we use AWS S3. But the point here is that you're like both storing a table format file in cloud storage. Now, the kind of old way of doing things here was to create a job that you integrated, and you would write a thing and you say, okay, Unity catalog, what tables do I get? All right, copy this from here to here. It's easy. It's what everybody's been doing for a long time, kind of table stakes, but it's effective. But it means you have to write a job, and if you change the format here, you have to change the format here, and vice versa. Now, the cool thing that we've been able to do over the last few months is use the Delta sharing concept to basically remove that complexity entirely. So What we've got now and has gone into GA and what's in a product inbound beta bit is that what we've done is we've created Amperity Bridge, which uses an open sharing API. So what you do is you register a credential here and you plug it into your Unity catalog and vice versa. And what that means is that the people writing these notebooks up here, they don't have to know if the data's stored over in the native Databricks storage or if it's stored in Amperity. They can just write notebooks and join across it, treat it like it's just part of the standard Databricks storage. That's what Unity Catalog really powers. Unity Catalog basically stores two things. Who gets access to what, and where that data is stored. So you register it in Unity Catalog. You say, this data is stored in this storage bucket, and this other data is stored in this storage bucket. But the end user writing the notebook doesn't have to know that. And the IT team can govern that data from a single layer. It's super powerful, and it's instantaneous. I've had to kind of like, when I'm explaining this, I'm like, it's not copying. They're like, how up to date is the data? I'm like, it doesn't update. You're just reading the same storage layer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to walk through it in a demo. So, all right, we're going to start out in Databricks here, and you see we have our Unity catalog here, and in here we've got a set of Amplify data. So there's 5 tables here, some e-commerce, loyalty, point of sale data, and we're going to want to get that into an Amperity tenant. Now this is real. This is like me doing it live. I recorded this yesterday. So what you do is you go down to Delta sharing here. You're going to share data. And what we're doing is we're just creating a share. And this allows you to govern what data you're giving your Amperity tenant access to via the Unity catalog, the same way you would for any of your internal teams or anything like that. We create the share, we call it Amplify Demo. We go into our catalog, we select the data set, and basically it's telling me I need to grant some permissions here. And now I have the schema that we call Amplify, and we're adding a few more things. We're going to hit save. Now what we do here is we create a new recipient. The new recipient, we're just going to call it Amplify Demo. And, oh wait, sorry, I guess I already did that. Now you get to watch me retype it. Amplify Recip, okay, great. And we'll hit Share Data. It's basically just letting me know that we're going to save this and it's going to be ready. And now you can see there's a share. It has a schema called Amplify, and you can click into it. Here's all the tables we get. Isn't that great? And so now what we need to do is we need to generate a credential and then upload that into Amperity to provide Amperity with access to this data. And so you go here, you click on your recipient, and you get this little activation link. You paste that in here, and now you download a credential file. This gives you a config.share file. That share file has the authentication needed for Amperity to act with your data. You log into Amperity, you click Add Bridge. We give it a name, Amplify. And now all we have to do is upload that credential we just generated. So it takes the credential, validates it, you click Connect. And now you instantaneously see the same 5 tables that we just showed you. Like, there's no load, there's no nothing. And then it tells you how it's going to represent it in Amperity. You hit Save and Sync. Boom, instantaneously available. Now you see there's 5 tables. You see the little Databricks icon letting you know this is actually stored in your Databricks account. And so there's no copying happening. There's no big job occurring here. We're just able to immediately start working with the data. So this table that I just created and just registered, I'm giving it a name, messing up the naming again. And then I'm gonna choose my table. And then this also allows you to do a little bit of formatting. If you want to remove tables, you want to do a little bit of stuff here, you can apply some stuff, but we're not going to do any actual modeling. But now you're immediately able to start tagging the data. And for those of you that are familiar with Amperity, this is part of how we save a ton of time. We use a library of what we call semantic tags, and those tags make it easy for you to standardize data. It basically tells Stitch how to think about it. So each tag represents basically some of the machine learning models we use for identity resolution. We come in, and now the table's already ready, and you can add it to your Stitch. Now, in this scenario, we've already got it configured because we don't want to make you sit here for 20 minutes while it runs. But you can see that we generate an identity graph. So the whole point here is you upload your credential, select the tables, immediately be able to tag them, immediately start running Stitch. And this is like pretty much live. Like in a real world, I would tag a little bit more, but you can run Stitch, and then you can apply our out-of-the-box models, and you end up with a unified customer 360 table and a bunch of different tables. So now we need to take that data and put it back into Databricks. So we're going to do exactly what we did, but the opposite direction. So we're creating another bridge. And this is all the data we just generated with the new identity graph, the new data models. And we see immediately all of the tenant storage data. We are able to download a credential file again. And then we're going to download that file, and then you have to add it as a provider. Now this we're going to, I have on good authority will eventually be something you can do from the UI, but for real quick, basically what we're doing here is we're taking that same sort of share file that we did to create the connection from Databricks to Amperity storage to connect the opposite direction. And so I'm going to rename the file here so that I can run a simple command, but we're creating what's called a provider. So Amperity is providing data to the Databricks account. Before we created a recipient, which was Databricks providing data to your Amperity tenant. And so we're going to call the provider Amplify demo. We run, you get a nice little success. Now we switch back over to Databricks, and we see shared with me, and you see a provider, Amplify demo. And then now all you have to do is create a catalog, and this basically registers your Amperity storage in your Databricks account. So you get just direct live reads directly into your storage thing. I'll let you in a little secret while this creates, like, this is actually an Azure hosted thing with an AWS Amperity tenant. Like, it takes away all of that ambiguity here. But you immediately get a new catalog with all of your Amperity storage, and you get all of the data, and it's always up to date. And if you look here at the details for this table, this is where it's stored. Delta sharing, Amperity, and it's like this link to your Amperity tenant storage. Now, if I go back to the original data, you can see that you end up with a table, and this is a standard Delta Lake table, and you have your Databricks file storage here. So the point is that your end user can now write queries that go across that and not have to think about it, and it's just always up to date. And it makes it easy for you to now have the data assets always up to date and ready for you to build whatever models you want, and it kind of really unlocks a lot of things. So I think that's pretty much where the demo video ends, but the kind of key element here is this is a real game changer, because now you can create those shares. So some of our customers want to use Tableau, right? You can actually use that same credential, upload it into the Tableau data source, and directly run reports against Amperity. And we're hoping that over time, with the trends we're seeing from Salesforce and all these other players, that we'll just be able to basically use that sharing API to directly let all sorts of SaaS applications connect to your Amperity data. All right. I want to talk about Databricks, and in order to do so, I want to bring up Shiv Trisal. Everybody give a round of applause for Shiv. All right. So we've been doing a lot of really great work with Databricks. I mean, we love the tool. We use it internally at Amperity, but also most of our customers love to use it. And we've built this bridge stuff in partnership with them. And Shiv's been a great partner in that. You saw General Motors downstairs. Well, that's one of your org's customers. So Shiv, can you give us a quick intro? Tell us about what you do with Databricks.
Sure. So Shiv Trisal, I head up our manufacturing and transportation business here at Databricks. And fundamentally, thank you to Amperity for making this event such a big spotlight on the partnership with Databricks. I think there's amazing things we're doing together. So my role's more around, hey, we have a fantastic platform in Databricks. It provides you a bunch of tools and tool sets to pretty much do anything you can think of. But the role of industry leaders like myself is to point it at the right use cases, at the right industries, in the right time, and come up with new solutions that help customers get the most value from their AI investments. And a lot of that revolves around working deeply with the partner ecosystem. So, the things that we're doing with Amperity in terms of customer data, the only thing I can tell you in an industry that's somewhat considered legacy, there is so much interest in trying to get access to customer data. It goes way beyond marketing, right? It has an impact on pretty much anything you can think of with respect to how they deliver value to customers. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I'm excited to be here, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. So we put this up. This is the one of the more recent kind of ways to think about Databricks as the data intelligence platform. And I think the key thing I want to draw the point to here is Unity Catalog and Delta Lake. So what we just showed you is being able to register Amperity in your Unity Catalog. And basically that means that all of these cool things that you can do up here are now things that you can do by also using that unified data from Amperity. So tell me a little bit about the Delta sharing concept and how you're seeing that used, and kind of how important it is to what Databricks has been working on.
Yeah, so let's talk about data sharing, and I'll talk about like pre-Amperity and post-Amperity, right? Like how does the world change for the customer? So if you think about pre-Amperity, what would happen? We basically say, hey, Databricks is the best platform on the planet to go build data and AI products, and that is absolutely a true statement. But we do not exist in isolation of the customer's other investments in technology, and we totally get that. So initially what we would do is, hey customers, go build out your own pipelines and figure out how to get the data from all these things and also improve the quality of that information. And that was really the pre-Amperity state for customer data. And then some of the customers went in and said, okay, we'll go take the challenge on, we'll do a DIY experiment to go get data from these systems, try and keep things high quality, and then it wasn't the best experience. It wasn't. It was also very costly because they have to have staff dedicated to that, and keeping things synchronized between the two worlds was always a challenge. And this is where the power of delta sharing comes in. It's not just a one-way, hey, data from this system comes into this system. It's a bidirectional integration which keeps the two worlds synchronized. So when an analyst or a data scientist is looking at data, is seeing the same thing as somebody who's on the operational side or the marketing side. And I think that's super relevant for what people are trying to do, and that's a problem that hasn't been solved for the longest time. And that's what delta sharing enables. And then the other piece is, people are building in profiles, and on the customer side, people are building in, great models on the other side, and there's no way to share all of those assets, not just data, but AI assets. So the results of data scientists' work, the results of a predictive model, there's no good way to put it back into a workflow or an operation decision that you're trying to make. So I think that's something that data sharing just completely unlocks the ability to do this without having to move data, without having to create extra copies. And it's a game-changing technology, and we've seen this in the customer space. And with Amperity, now you can literally have a solution in minutes where you can look at the customer data that you're wanting to get access to, and it's powering decisions in automotive, it's powering decisions in airline operations. It's not just marketing decisions, but also operational, real-time, adding value to customer decisions, which is absolutely incredible. And this is something the industry has struggled with for a long time. And I come from that industry, and I've had to try to solve these problems, and there was never a good solution. We would just hit a roadblock. And I think that's what we have completely removed with this strategic collaboration with Amperity.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I think the cool thing is, everybody hopefully got to see the keynote, there's a lot that rhymes with across all three of the big announcements you saw there, where the AI stuff is all built using Databricks. But it also this bridge makes it so that companies like GM will be able to build those models, generate those attributes, and all they have to do if they want to make it available to marketers is add it to the share that Amperity is using. And so I think it's the flexibility has been the fun part, and it's also been really fun to see how quickly people have adopted it. I've launched a lot of features here, and because of how short that configuration cycle is, especially, we've seen company after company after company just lighting this stuff up. So
I'm going to throw you on the part of this. Like, how complex was you to do? Was it for you to do data sharing integrations, right? Like, how hard was it for you? Let's ask you that question.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think the good news was that we already used a lakehouse style storage. And so the big thing was we were using org files, and we needed to switch to something that was supported by delta sharing. And so we switched over to a Parquet file. And then now we're going to be able to create the catalogs for delta sharing and other table types there. And so that was probably the biggest bit there. And then the other bit was creating the sharing API, which, but overall, I don't want to undercut it. Like, the work was amazing, and I think it's been great, and it's taken us quite a few months to kind of get there. But the outbound share was live in February. This is not we're growing and iterating on this already. We're just announcing it today. So I think the good news is delta sharing made it actually pretty easy, because Databricks is, I respect Databricks because it's a company that has grown by pure technical proficiency. It's just our team was using Databricks not because they were trying to hop onto a trend. It's just we have really good engineers, and they were like, I want the best thing to do, tool to use, and this is the best tool I can get. And so I think that the good news is we already were using it, and there was a bunch of ways that made it nice and easy for us to build this out.
Yeah, and I think just to give you a couple sort of real-world examples from the field, right? So obviously you saw and heard from John at GM. You'll probably hear from Tom Barber later today in Virgin Atlantic. So we're doing very similar things there from an airline perspective. We work with car rental agencies as well. So this whole space of mobility kind of really it's really important to deeply understand who your customer is, right? So it's if you think about it, like I work a lot in the connected product space. So every vehicle is getting smarter, and you can predict a bunch of stuff on it, right? How are people interacting with the entertainment or with systems in the car or the autonomous driving features? How do you predict maintenance needs for the cars through the telemetry data? But none of this can be activated or acted on if you don't have good understanding of who's driving the car or who's in it, or what is their purchase patterns, how are they going to buy service packages, how are they, and there's so many decisions there that are unknown, and the marketers are talking in a different language, and the data scientists are trying to solve operational problems, and it's not connecting, and that's the problem that we ended up solving together with GM is like, hey, you have amazing investments in battery technology and connectivity on the cars, and you're getting so much information from the vehicle. Now you combine this with the information you're getting about your customer, the deep insight that you're getting from your customer, and then you can target emails, target offers, target better products, target upsell opportunities. And really the fundamental assumption that most of these companies are betting their business on is the customer's investment in their brand. And that's how you increase brand value by orders of magnitude, is by creating those moments that matter and really activating this insight and making sure that they get value out of this data sharing that they're doing with you. And that's the opportunity that gets realized, the value that gets realized overall. It's something that in our industry, it's the fastest growing business at Databricks right now because there's so much data, and there's so much data that can be combined with customer data, first-party data specifically, because it's been collected for years, but just never used. So the sky is the limit for the opportunity, not just in our industry, but even in other industries. But I'm particularly really excited about these ones because I think there is so much connectivity, so much technology that's coming into products, and it's going to impact customers' lives for the better, and it's the brands that have to act on it and be able to deliver that value. And I think that's going to be freaking awesome, and to do this with Amperity is just going to be awesome.
Oh man, love it. All right, I just looked at the time, and we're up at the end of this, and I want to make sure everybody gets out in time for lunch. But I will open it up for if anybody's got a question, raise your hand. Otherwise, you can talk to me afterwards. Yeah. So I mean, at least in terms of what happens with the exchange from Amperity, what we've created is we adapted to the OpenShare API, and so that credential file has an API endpoint and a credential to access that. But that credential doesn't actually give you access to data; it gives you access to the sharing API. And then Databricks, you say, I want to access this table. What tables are available? The sharing API knows how to list that. Okay, I want to run a query in this table. The sharing API generates a direct credential to cloud storage, and that's why it's really, really fast, because it's exactly the same model that Databricks uses for its own storage. And so the cool part is it inherits all of the Unity catalog features, and really the only difference is where it's accessing the file.
Yeah, it's basically like, think about it as a virtualized table in Databricks, right? So it's the same things that you can control Databricks tables on. And the interesting thing is now we're a company that's obviously going through a transformation, and we've disrupted ourselves so many times over. And the next iteration of the platform is really based off of generative AI and how you can build your own custom models. So if you have things built out in Delta tables and even virtualized tables like this that you can federate and bring into the same framework that you're using to build AI solutions on, one click takes you to convert a Delta table to a vectorized index, right? So you can go then build generative AI features and applications on top of that. So it is something that truly just brings and democratizes data and AI to the enterprise at a level that we've never seen before. So just taking advantage, and I tell a lot of our customers, they always ask me, it's like, well, isn't partnering with Amperity like taking away some of your business, because otherwise we would be doing all these cleanups in Databricks? And I'm just like, well, but you can do all of that, but is it really a good use of your dollars, right? Is it something that gives you a lot of value, or is it busy work that's giving us consumption today that will disappear tomorrow? So it's bringing good data to go do good AI work, and I think that's super important to our customers. That's how they're going to get value faster.
I think just to expand on a little bit, like in Amperity, you get the data dictionary auto-generated, and you can add descriptions and all kinds of things. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is populate Unity Catalog with all of the metadata, so that you just automatically document it.
Yeah, so we've been on that journey for years, right? To bringing structured, unstructured data together so that you can build features like this. And generative AI is just the next iteration of it. I don't know if you saw the left side of the screen where he was demoing. There's a project called Genie, which is really on top here, which says, intuitive access. So basically, not just unstructured data, but even tables, right? Like aggregated summaries of reports and numbers that you can then report through a natural language interface, right? So in order for you to do that, you have to have some level of vector search involved in there. So yeah, I'm happy to spend some more time on it, but fundamentally it's something we've done already, and you can actually try out in the platform. Project Genie is public preview, so something that's a Delta table for you, you can access it via a natural language interface.
And the cool part is we're going to try to make that as seamless as possible. Like in the UI, you see the graph. It's not actually stored in a graph database or anything. It's just stored as edges and nodes and stuff. And so we make that easier to import there. Then it can kind of give you the best of both worlds is the hope. Yeah. I'm getting the flag down here because, boy, you'll let me talk. If you let me talk, I will talk all day. I saw a question in the back. Make sure you hit me up afterwards. Thank you very much, Shiv. Any
Pleasure.
closing thoughts? But yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, everybody.